President, the parliamentary status of the measure is that we have sponsored the bill, and with the consent of the body, I move that we open the period of interpellations and debate. I so move, Mr. President.
There being no objection, motion is approved.
Mr. President, I move that we recognize the sponsor of the bill, Senator Ronald Bato de la Rosa, and to interpellate Senator Francis Tol Tolentino. So move, Mr.
Our
President.
distinguished colleague, former Chief of Police of the Philippine National Police, no other than Ronald Bato de la Rosa, is recognized. And to interpellate is the distinguished gentleman from Cavite, is that correct?
Yes, Mr. President, Senator Francis Tolentino.
Senator Tolentino is recognized as well. Please proceed.
Thank you, Mr. President. Looking at the bill itself, Senate Bill 2449, this representation would like to be clarified further as distinguished from other reorganizational measures, because the current administration is now into using the mantra of right-sizing. May we know from the distinguished sponsor why is there a need for reorganizational reforms within the Philippine National Police, Mr. President?
Thank you, Mr. President. Your Honor, there is an urgent need to get congressional approval of the organizational reforms in the PNP through the adoption of the current organizational structure of the PNP, in cognizant to the evolving extent and character of criminality, including the most pressing problems in law enforcement today: the menace of illegal drugs, kidnapping, cybercrimes, and terrorism. Without the legal impetus to the new PNP offices or units, the PNP will deal with a serious obstacle on government's crime prevention campaigns, which will affect the organization's gains on economic development and good governance in addressing the changing landscape of criminality.
Thank you, Mr. President. So the reason is to adapt to the changing times. And if the good sponsor can furnish this representation, some documents that would perhaps provide foundational backgrounds on how many times, as to how many times, to the knowledge of the good sponsor, was the National Bureau of Investigation been reformed through legislation, and perhaps going to other jurisdictions, how many times have they reformed through administrative measures, the NYPD, or even the Los Angeles Police Department? It would probably aid this representation, and your committee likewise.
Yes, Your Honor, Mr. President, we will furnish you with some research regarding changes in the structures of other police organizations in the other jurisdictions, Mr. President. But
Yes.
for purposes of discussion, for the Philippine National Police, this will be the third law that will be tackling the Philippine National Police in general, particularly in organization. First, we have the RA 6975, or the DILG Act of 1999, then followed by RA 8551, or the PNP Reform Act, and this is the third legislation, Your Honor, that will tackle PNP.
And if it is not too much, can the good sponsor likewise provide this representation? The number of times that the Philippine Constabulary
Yes,
was
Your Honor.
reformed likewise.
Yes, Your Honor.
Thank you, good sponsor. My other question is that to directly hit the point, so maybe not the main objectives aside from the previously mentioned rationale of keeping the PNP abreast with the evolving times. What are the other objectives of Senate Bill 2449?
Yes, Mr. President, Your Honor. The main objective of the Senate Bill number 2449 is to provide the legal and organizational impetus to the PNP to further sustain the enhancement of its strategic and operational capabilities. Number two, the approval of the PNP organizational reforms through legislative fiat aims to institutionally upgrade the PNP and provide legal entity to newly created PNP offices and units to exist and operate. Without the imprimatur of the Congress on the organizational changes introduced and being implemented by NAPOLCOM, the PNP, the current structure, labors under operational constraints due to the inadequacy of human and financial resources and equipage. Number three, the PNP organization intends to legalize the PNP existence of the National Operational Support Units, which now includes the Criminal Investigation and Detection Group, Civil Security Group, PNP Anti-Cybercrime Group, Maritime Group, Highway Patrol Group, PNP Forensic Group, Anti-Kidnapping Group, Explosives and Ordnance and Canine Group, and Women and Children Protection Group, among others. Number four, the proposed reform in the organizational structure of the PNP will also include the 8 National Administrative Support Units presently existing but are not enumerated in the provisions of RA 6975, including the Chaplain Service, Training Service, PNP Retirement Benefits Administration Service, and PNP Recruitment and Selection Service, which were created by virtue of NAPOLCOM resolutions for the PNP to continue to be responsive and highly capable organization. And number five, the aforementioned issues will now have a clear legislated mandate to ensure the effective discharge of their duties. Number six, moreover, proposed bill also aims to resolve the issue on the status of the PNPA cadets, which we propose to be considered as members of the PNP and shall be entitled to the salaries and benefits of an active police personnel. This will put them on the same status and category of those cadets of the Philippine Military Academy, Your Honor, Mr. President.
Thank you, good sponsor. Your multiple responses probably would enable this representation to ask multiple questions likewise.
Yes, you may, Your Honor, Mr. President.
Because I heard whispers coming from my senator at the back asking questions as to the number of personnel PNP has right now. I heard the whisper that it was before 90,000, or now it's more than 200,000, Your Honor?
Yes,
Mr.
Your
President.
Honor.
Ilan ba ho talaga?
227,214, Your Honor.
227,214.
227,300, correction, 344.
If we look at the third revision of the PNP law, what was the maximum personnel component of PNP?
Well, 1:2. Yeah, I think it will remain the same, Your Honor, because
Yung last po, yung last amendment ng law, there was a cap.
Actually, sir, Your Honor, as far as manpower is concerned, the strength, it was maintained a long time ago that the ideal police to population ratio is 1:500. One policeman for every 500 citizens. So if we are now having a population of 110 million, then
Your Honor, your favorite agency, the PSA, according to the front page reports today, reported that we will be close to 115 million Filipinos. This year,
115.
15 million.
115.
115, according to your favorite agency. So,
115.
utilizing that ratio of 1:500, ilan na po dapat tayo?
One is 535 as of now.
Hindi nga, yung 115 million, kung ilan ang polis kailangan yan sa 115 million. Sige. Ha? 200? 230,000, Your Honor. So,
230.
kunti na lang ang kulang.
230,000. You have 227,300. So,
Yes, Your Honor, but this includes the in UP, Your Honor, the non-uniform personnel.
Yes, gentlemen, may I just interject? You're saying 1:500 or 1:5,000?
500, Your Honor, Mr. President.
Yes, 230,000. That's correct.
230,000.
so, Mr. President, in a way, with the approval of Senate Bill 2449, we will be able to address the gap, which is currently
The gap is currently 227 minus 12. Ha? 2,600. Di ba? 227 minus 12. Kasi in UP ito. 227 minus 12.
Uniform doctors.
Ha? Ayun na po mga ito. So, ilang kulang natin? 2,600, Your Honor.
2,600.
Kasama pala
Yes,
ito.
Mr. President, and aside from this gap that is going to be addressed by Senate Bill 2449, Your Honor, Mr. President mentioned the institutionalization of entities previously not mentioned in previous amendatory legislations. And I heard the good sponsor mentioning the Philippine Maritime, PNP Maritime Command. The, I failed to hear something about a cybersecurity command.
CIDG.
CIDG.
The main investigative unit of the PNP is not
Mentioned, not
mentioned.
under the law. May I know from the good sponsor, how were these entities created, even if they're not included in the previous three laws mentioned by the good sponsor? Were they just created through the administrative fiats of the NAPOLCOM? Were they just created through memorandum or PNP circular, chief PNP circulars? Paano po na-create itong
They were created, Your Honor, via NAPOLCOM memorandum circulars, Your Honor.
And
Resolutions.
Resolutions.
NAPOLCOM resolutions.
And NAPOLCOM, the National Police Commission, is authorized by law to create new entities or just task forces or ad hoc units, Mr. President?
13 or 855.
Pursuant to Section 13 of RA 8551, Your Honor, authority of the Commission to reorganize the PNP, notwithstanding the provisions of Republic Act 6975 on the organizational structure and rank classification of the PNP, the Commission shall conduct a management audit and prepare and submit to Congress a proposed reorganization plan of the PNP not later than December 31, 1998, subject to limitations provided under this Act and based on the following criteria.
So because of that, and through this bill, previous issuances of the NAPOLCOM will now be institutionalized if this measure is passed.
Yes, Your Honor, Mr. President.
So, Mr. President, what would prevent the current as well as the future NAPOLCOMs from creating new entities within the Philippine National Police? For instance, what would prevent them from creating, I mentioned the Cybersecurity Command, what would prevent them from creating an inter-regional command? What would prevent them from creating a mega NCR police office? What and so on and so forth. I'm saying this because what this Congress and even the 18th Congress did when we created the Metro Davao Police District, we made it sure that it was part of the law, creating the Metro Davao Development Authority. Ano po ang makakapigil sa Napolcom pa bukas at sa mga susunod na taon na mag-create ng iba't ibang units at pagkatapos po babalik sa Kongreso para i-institutionalize?
Actually, Your Honor, there is none. And the Polcom may create this organization based on the demands of the times, Your Honor. And that is why, but the problem is when it comes to funding. Since it is not covered with statute, Your Honor, then funding comes very hard, Your Honor.
Hindi po ba dapat, Mr. President, na ipabahala na lang sa Kongreso yung pagtatatag ng pangmatagalang unit? Yung units na hindi task force lang, hindi ad hoc, hindi ba ho dapat ang Kongreso sa panukala ng PNP o DILG ang magbigay ng approval ng imprimatur para po maging isang organisasyon talaga within the Philippine National Police, ang isang bagong talagang unit.
Yes, Your Honor. That's really that mandate is reserved to Congress. The creation by law of PNP units. But in this case, Your Honor, nangyari lang ito dahil nga they've been asking for legislations pertaining to the creation of this unit in the previous Congresses a long time ago, but hindi lang napagbigyan, hindi nagawan, but new modus operandi, new crime situation, no threats emerging. The Napolcom has to react to these threats in order to make the PNP responsive to the emerging threats, Your Honor. Kaya sila napilitan gumawa ng mga provisionary PNP units, but still subject to legislation by Congress. Because hindi nga ito talaga mapupunduhan, ito mga units na ito, kung walang kaukulang batas. So wala talagang pundo na mangyayari. They are working without even having no operational fund.
So there is no unwritten rule within the Philippine National Police that once a temporary unit is created or an ad hoc unit is created, after the lapse, for instance, of 2 years, the same will be considered as dissolved.
There's
Wala pong
none,
ganon.
there's none, Your Honor.
Wala. So it will be on a continuing basis functioning subject to future legislative approval.
Yes, Your Honor.
And Your Honor, do you think that should be maintained?
Well, it's very hard. I think if you want, Your Honor, Mr. President, we can incorporate in this bill a provision prohibiting Napolcom from creating PNP units if we want to be strict.
Or just put a timeline?
A
cap?
timeline.
After 2 years, the same will be considered as dissolved. I'm thinking forward, Mr. President, what would prevent a future Napolcom or PNP chief to think of creating, for instance, a PNP rocket force?
Well,
PNP rocket force. Even without resources. A PNP submarine force.
Or-
Even without resources. Just aspirational.
or PNP is Space Command.
Yes.
Huh? Well,
So siguro po, Mr. President, dapat magkaroon ng cap if you create an ad hoc unit, after the lapse of several months or after the lapse of 2 years, the same should be considered as dissolved or absorbed by a mother unit, Mr. President.
That would be good, Your Honor. And I
So
agree with you.
during the period of amendments, Mr. President, is the good sponsor willing to incorporate that or accept that proposition?
Yes, Your Honor, Mr. President. We will be
Thank
willing
you.
to accept your amendments in
Thank
the
you,
proper
good,
time.
thank you, good sponsor. Regarding the PNPA cadets, I remember vividly during the Commission on Appointments deliberation on Commissioner, the status of the chairman, who is the CSC chairman from Davao, Civil
Chairman.
Service Commission,
Carlo
Nograles.
Yeah.
He promised to recognize through a civil service resolution the status of PNPA cadets as government employees upon entrance to the academy, similar to the status of the Philippine Military Academy cadets. Kasi po ngayon ang lumalabas, they are treated as JOs, job orders. So is this the
Temporary.
status of the, is this part of the proposed measure to,
Yes, Your Honor.
May-
Mr. President, I cited that as one of the objectives of this bill. Treating PNPA cadets as regular members of the Philippine National Police, no longer temporary. The
with PhilHealth,
PMA
etc.?
cadets, the PMA cadets, once they take oath as a fourth-class cadets of the Philippine Military Academy, they are already considered as regular members of the armed forces of the Philippines. But in the case of the PNPA cadets, as you have said, job order, parang temporary appointment. Kawawa talaga, Mr. President, kung mamatay yung PNPA cadets while on training, hindi maka-receive ng benefits yung parents ng namatay dahil hindi siya regular.
Yes,
Dahil hindi siya regular.
Yes,
Casual lang siya, casual.
I totally
Temporary
agree.
appointment.
I totally agree, Mr. President. I think this was during the time of General Armamento when this representation raised that matter during the confirmation of Chairman Nograles. Are you saying, a good sponsor, that Chairman Nograles never complied with the suggestion coming from the Commission on Appointments?
Well, as of now, Mr. President, according to the PNP representatives here, there's none yet.
No resolution issued
No resolution yet. None,
by
Your Honor.
CSC?
None, Your Honor. Maybe we can remind him while
We
this
will
bill
remind
is...
your kababayan from Davao that he forgot his promise to the Commission on Appointments.
We will follow it up, Your Honor, Mr. President.
Thank you, Mr. President. Siguro konti na lang to, konti na lang po ito to expedite this initial interpellation. May we know from the good sponsor, why is there a need to include if it is included, is it part of the measure to strengthen the checks and balances within the PNP? May ano ba ho yung kulang pa kung kailangan yon?
Wala yun. Yes, Your Honor. Under that bill, talagang maklaro doon yung the organizational reform is designed to instill the time-honored core values of service, honor, and justice. The PNP sustains its institutionalized delegation of authority and fully operationalized directorial staff system, which provides for authority relationship between the command group, directorial staff, national support units, and police regional offices, as well as the extent of specific authority delegated to them by the Chief PNP.
Thank you, Mr. President. And would these checks and balances, teka, balikan ko po yung previous question which I forgot. the status of the area commands, Mr. President.
It is included, Your Honor, in the in this bill, the creation of the area commands. We have 5 area police commands, which were not included in the provisions of RA 6975 or RA 551. So, kailangan ma-institutionalize sila, Your Honor.
So, Your Honor, under the proposed measure, what would now be the role of the area police commanders vis-a-vis the regional directors, the regional commanders?
The area commands, Your Honor, under this bill, Section 25-B, in order to enhance the control of the chief of the PNP, area police command shall be established in clustered police regional offices. The APC shall orchestrate, supervise, and control the conduct of inter-regional operations against insurgency, terrorism, and other internal security threats. Further, the APC shall likewise conduct search, rescue, and relief operations in times of calamities and other emergency situations within the respective areas of jurisdictions. Finally, the APC shall support the police regional offices in the conduct of inter-regional anti-criminality operations and investigations. For this purpose, the APCs shall have operational control over the existing regional mobile force battalions within the respective areas of responsibility, subject to the exercise of the power of delegation of authority of the chief of the PNP.
So the area commanders will have operational jurisdiction over the regional mobile forces.
Yes, Your Honor.
This would have to be given to them first by the chief PNP.
Yes.
On a normal day,
Your Honor, Mr. President.
without the grant of said authority, who would have jurisdiction over the RMFs?
It is the regional director, Your
Regional
Honor.
directors.
Mr.
So on a
President.
case-to-case basis, it can be transferred to the area.
The
Commands.
area police command.
Don't you think, Mr. President, the area commander should likewise be given a determinate role, not subject to temporary delegations of authority coming from the chief PNP? Isa batas na po. Ano ba yung gagawin nyo talaga? Pag eleksyon, ganito kayo. Pag peace and order concern, ganito kayo. Pag calamities, ganito kayo. Hindi ba dapat iliwanag na yun doon?
I think these are the main functions, Mr. President, Your Honor. Orchestrate, supervise, and control the conduct of inter-regional operations against insurgency, terrorism, and other internal security threats. Further, the APC shall likewise conduct search, rescue, and relief operations in times of calamities and other emergency situations within the respective areas of jurisdiction. So, yan po ang magiging functions under this bill, Your Honor.
Right now, do they have the same functions?
Right now, they have the same function, Your Honor, but only covered by NAPOLCOM resolutions.
Circulars.
NAPOLCOM resolution.
So, Mr. President, finally, is there a provision in Senate Bill 2449 that would somehow involve the Filipino youth? I'm mentioning this, Mr. President, because there have been calls to have, for instance, a police version of the ROTC. There is perhaps a call for some segments of the youth to be part of a traffic management program, especially during provincial town fiesta activities. Is that we have the involvement now of women. We have women's police children's desk. Is there a
a window for the involvement of the Filipino youth, even on a voluntary basis, Mr. President?
Right now, Your Honor, this particular bill is silent about that particular issue. But in the proper time, if Your Honor would like to amend this bill, we can entertain your amendments, Your Honor. And I agree. I fully agree. If there is an Army ROTC, there's an Air Force ROTC, there's a Naval ROTC, we can have also Police ROTC.
Not just, Mr. President, but when it comes to disaster preparedness, you mentioned the area commanders being involved in disaster response. Perhaps the Filipino youth are more muscled. We just saw a jiu-jitsu 6-year-old world champion a while ago. And I'm now referring to the SK members who are 21 years old, 18 years old, able-bodied, willing to join the police, assist the police during disasters. Pwede po ba yun, Mr. President? My model, Mr. President, is the Royal Malaysian Police Force, Mr. President.
Yes, Your Honor.
Kabilang po yung mga kabataang Malaysians.
We agree.
Payag po ba kayo during the period of amendments?
Yes, I agree. I will subscribe to the wisdom of
And they can also be part of a future PNP Cybersecurity Command.
yes,
Magagaling po ang mga kabataan natin sa computers, Mr. President.
yes, Your Honor.
Marami
Mr.
pa ho
President.
sana akong itatanong pero sa susunod na lang, Mr. President, dahil
May caucus pa tayo, Mr.
alam ko
President.
pong abala ang ating sponsor. Siya po ang head of delegation sa Asia Pacific Forum starting tomorrow, and I'd like to thank him for his straightforward responses to my questions. Mr. President, I have no further questions at this
Thank
stage.
you.
I'd like to thank Senator De La Rosa.
Thank you very much,
for the
distinguished
answers.
colleagues. Yes, we'd like to appeal to our colleagues. We have to get a briefing for the APAPF tomorrow. So we thank Senator De La Rosa for cutting short the interpellations and sponsorship of the measure. We'll tackle it again next week.
Yes,
First item on the
Mr. President.
agenda.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you for the Chief PNP for coming as well, and the members of the Philippine National Police, all the generals. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, at this juncture, I move that we suspend consideration of Senate Bill number